Abena had hoped that her stepfather would step into the role of a loving father, but her expectations were shattered. He was constantly belittling her, with comments that made her feel worthless.
Is this what you call a meal, Abena? I've had more palatable dishes from street vendors.
He would always find a way to harshly criticize her cooking.
I just can't imagine how you will find a husband.
The most painful part was that her mother never defended her.
I'm so lonely, Mum. And Dad's words are like a constant barrage, and you seem so distant.
Come on, you're hopefully overreacting. It's just merely looking for your best interest. Come on.
The role of stepdads, how do we say it? Good or bad?
There are places where I've needed to be a hero, and there are places where I need to be a dad.
I think it takes a man of character to step up to that position and say, yes, come rain, come shine,
I'll still do it.
I'll still do it. That is a man of character.
Yeah.
Hello, once again, welcome back to Echoes of Our Community. I say echoes because we're looking at what is being said out there by real people, real stories that make real impact, hopefully making real impact. So we're back again, and I'd just like to introduce our guests. But before I do that, I'd like to just read something from my current book, Can You Hear Me? Because this will lay the foundation of our conversation right now. We're still talking about dads, fathers, male figures. So we're talking today about stepdads, stepfathers. And I just want to read something, and then I'll introduce my guest, and then we'll kick off from there. Are you okay, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
So now listen to this. Abena had hoped that her stepfather would step into the role of a loving father, but her expectations were shattered. He was constantly belittling her, with comments that made her feel worthless.
Is this what you call a meal, Abena? I've had more palatable dishes from street vendors.
He would always find a way to harshly criticize her cooking.
I just can't imagine how you will find a husband.
Her grades, and her appearance. The most painful part was that her mother never defended her.
I'm so lonely, Mum. And Dad's words are like a constant barrage, and you seem so distant.
Come on, you're hopefully overreacting. It's just merely looking for your best interest. Come on.
Or offered any support. As Abena grew older, nothing changed. One day, she planned to attend an event and wore a beautiful dress. Her friends had always admired this dress. As she appeared from the room, happy that she looked really good, she could hear her stepfather say harshly, "Abena, what are you wearing? Are you now a street girl? Not good at all, not good. I don't know why you bother. You simply do not have the looks." Stung by his words, Abena abandoned her plans for the party and retreated to her room. Welcome to this segment, guys. So I'd like to welcome Martin Vito.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here. Father of three, enjoying it. Father of three, husband of one wife. Just minding my business, but here to help you unleash your talent. So I'm looking forward to getting into this conversation.
You're welcome. And Dr. Solomon Bauer.
Yeah, happy to be here to share some little experience that can shed some light in this thought-provoking subject. Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
Okay. Stephen, I echo you, Martin, in terms of I have one beautiful queen and three beautiful adult daughters.
You're welcome.
Ready to roll.
And Leo.
I echo you. I'm a wife of one husband. CEO and founder of Wisdom Tree Communities. I have and will be looking forward to more conversation with
To set the record right so that it will not be that I'm about to. Yes. Yes. It's very important. Goes back to one wife and two lovely children.
Let the record show.
Yeah, if not so, there's the other people say one about the other person.
Can you explain that on the pod when you say, "Oh, babe, I want you to just watch it"? Tish comes in, so everybody else spoke about something. You forgot me. Caught me. I knew you. Yeah, it's
good that you came up with that.
excavated himself out of that situation.
You guys, man. I'm Margaret Taribo. I'm the wife of one husband as well.
Very important.
Oh, it's been great. So we're celebrating dads and fathers and male figures, and wow, it's been wow on this podcast series, and we want to explore a bit more, and we want to go to an unspoken off topic a bit more about stepdads, the role of stepdads. How do we see it? Good or bad, positive, negative? And what role do we play? Because before we came on air, we looked at the fact that, yes, we might not necessarily around the table be in that role per se, in quotes, but we do play that role. So it's about explaining what is a stepdad really? So I think that is where we need to start. What is a stepdad?
I think for me, the traditional definition of a stepdad is somebody who has married into a family that already has children from a previous relationship or previous marriage. So when you step in, you're not necessarily aware that you're stepping in, but ideally you're stepping into a process. But of course, right now, I think the story or the narrative around stepdads isn't particularly great. I've seen a couple of stories where men who have apparently stepped up and stepped in still felt like they were being treated less than because they're not the original father. And then there are other situations where they're not the original father, but they've stepped up and have received the adoration or the praise that is due a father because they've done the right thing. So for me, the definition of stepdad depends on the man who is stepping up and stepping in rather than society's definition, because society's definition.
I love it. I love that. The man that is stepping up and stepping in. So let's just look at, from what I read in the book, what do you think about those that don't step up and step in? What other what scenarios I've seen that happen, but what do you guys want to say something? Especially where there's been polygamy, where there's been a lot,
I think one of our previous podcasts, we talked about how we talk about the result of the relationship, which is usually a child, but we don't talk about the processes within the relationship, those that lead to the child, those that lead to different outcomes. So say, for example, if naturally when I was growing up, I received a lot of criticism, my style of communication will probably be around criticism, because that's the only way I could figure out whether I was loved. It was like my dad is saying, you should do better in school because I know you can do better. I mean, it's like you're constantly thinking maybe I'm not good enough, because the thing I actually am good at hasn't been celebrated directly. So I'm now fishing for compliments and fishing for acknowledgement. And so as you become an older man, you start to go, well, if I had to fish for my compliments, you have to go fishing. So you now apply how you were raised to how you are raising, and you don't really pull on the tools that you have around you, the communities that you have around you, to learn a different way.
I suppose when I wrote this book, I was looking at the fact that Abena was already on the scene with her mom. The challenges were with her mom, exactly. So when she married the man she married, he came in with his own issues, and he felt a bit. And so when she was expecting that loving relationship, he was always, because he had other children, he felt that, you know what, you're nothing. And maybe she was just representing her mom so much. He had to keep on putting her down. Does that resonate with anybody or any situation we've seen?
So sometimes this happens when you think biologically you're not part of that child, So you feel there shouldn't be any relationship connection because after all, if this person becomes something in the future, I will not be part of it, and that is not a kind of great perspective. So because I've seen some situation whereby the stepdad also had his own biological children, and then he said, "Oh, after all, I have to focus on this." And I've seen the situation even in Nigeria. So now he puts his own children in a good private school.
Yes.
Then the other step child is in a kind of public school, and that child will be the person that will eat last. That child will be the person that will do the domestic activity because you feel like, okay, you're not going to, there's no good future ahead of you because you're not coming from my loins. You are not, there's no any biological relationship producing you. So you feel as if it's only this child, my own child, biological children, that could make things in life. So it's a kind of perception, just as Martin said, sometimes it's how were you brought up, your upbringing, the environment, how you interact, what you face about life, kind of transfer of aggression to the other child. And mostly it's because you are not seeing anything good that could happen to them. So you think, okay, just maltreat because you're nobody and you're nothing. And sometimes this perception also comes if maybe this little child, whether a male or a female, the father is still alive. So you now think, oh, if I give attention on this, I will spend the resources, but the benefit someone else has not invested.
Yeah, this is, there's a story of a man who, of course, he had spent the time raising up the daughter and so forth. And I think when it was time for her graduation, she invited her biological dad, and the man who had stepped in and stepped up and supported and encouraged and embellished and empowered was not even invited, and not even invited by his stepdaughter. And his partner in that situation also stood by and let this happen.
Oh no.
So he's now thinking, I'm not going to do this again. Number one, my time has been wasted, resources have been wasted. And actually, when other men hear this story, I can tell you for free, most men start going, and this is why. This is why. And you hear these stories, don't date single mothers, don't date, because you're going to take on the responsibility, but you're not going to receive the praise.
Especially when they get married or they were on the wedding day, who's going to walk her down the aisle?
In view of what Martin said, along that same line, but this one was actually to do with marriage. I actually saw that the guy, they were making all the arrangements, and he came to realize that, and they're going to use his house. But then the daughter then said, no, her dad is going to be the one to walk her down the aisle. And he said, in my house, you've been living with me, I've been bankroll. I am the one bankrolling this wedding, not even her own dad. So, but when I hear this whole concept of step, I think step. Let's just play around with that word alone in of itself and the impacts. And if you don't take your time to process what you're stepping onto, into, up to, and I don't think anybody really, you can understand what you're stepping into. And I think it takes a man of character, of profound character, of godly character, to be able to step up into a role where you could be classified, the way I can just say, is a second-class citizen, especially by children of the, and like you said there, Martin, where the father is still alive. So you could be playing second fiddle that you don't even know. And, to step up to that position and say, yes, come rain, come shine,
I'll still do it.
I'll still do it. That is a man of character.
I think that takes me to a story I just recently heard, and it really touched me. This mom was raped, and on when she got raped, she got pregnant. Then the family abandoned her. Everything just went wrong. But then she got over it. She married somebody else. The family's still not talking to her. But now the son she gave birth to committed a crime. Who's the one standing in? It's the husband that she's now married to. Even the judge and where they, because they're going to court and everything, said, "You've got a good man there. That's a stepdad.
Yeah.
That's a stepdad."
Absolutely.
And I hear sometimes, and I don't know what you guys think of it, when somebody says, "You love me, you love my dog."
Well.
So the woman is not ready to go into a relationship with the man until you say, if you say you love me, if you love me, you're gonna love my children.
So, but you see what you've just said there. The idea of, I think, the connection between two people again is because we have, unfortunately, with this is not the podcast for that discussion, but you do always have to explore the dynamics between two people before children are brought into the picture. Now, if children already exist, that complicates the picture, because the complication is in that there are relationships that are already functional without your input.
Yes.
So when you
And that can be intimidating, can't it?
it's intimidating in some cases. If you're not careful how you're spoken to, you can be disrespected in very small increments.
Yes.
Over time. And it's like by the time
Very
you get to
subtle.
the 10th year of that disrespect, this is where some of these bigger disrespects happen. My dad is the one who's going to walk me down that aisle. But the kind of that journey that we talked about, that fatherhood journey, it's almost like someone else can run that journey and then another person can just step in and claim the glory at the end of that journey. Most men are adverse to seeing another person claim the glory for their efforts. So they would rather not even pursue it. But if they choose to pursue it, they've probably foregone the potential glory of it, and you know, I mean, big respect to the men who can step into those situations, because it takes a lot of you know.
I would also say that in the example that you've given, I would hazard a guess that the mother, the woman in that relationship, hadn't actually positioned that man the way that he should have been when he stepped up. Do you understand?
Which is what we said.
We have a saying where I'm from that, excuse me, we're on the podcast, but when you poop in your house, then you give other people license to do that. Do you understand? And I am a step parent actually, and so it was interesting to hear from a male perspective how you see that. And I do believe that men are less inclined to actually take on board other people's children than women are. But the disregard and the disrespect and the distancing, the second class citizen thing is actually not dissimilar. It's actually not dissimilar in my experience. So but yeah, when you honor something, people have to honor that. The things that you put boundaries around, people will have to put those same boundaries. So in the examples that you've given, I could clearly, obviously through conversation, I'd be able to identify that actually those people have not given the right kudos to that man for the child to respect. Now, don't misunderstand me. You are not the replacement of the original father. And if there's relationship with that father, that also has to be honored and respected. Now, without sounding wicked, it would have been easier if they didn't exist. Do you understand what I'm saying? But because they're present, there is a relationship dynamic. But the fact that a child will then still displace you when you have been the father figure,
there should not be.
It's not all about the child. It's also about the other adult, the mother that was in that relationship. Because I won't let you. I'm very strongly family oriented. I won't let you come into my space for any second, not even a millisecond, to come and dishonor my husband. Do you understand? I will fight, and he will be like, "Oh, okay, calm down." Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's that having that, drawing those boundary lines to say that, look, yeah, this is your dad, but your dad is here, your biological dad is here. I don't know, because obviously it's a story. We don't know whether the father has also been, the biological father has also been a contributory factor to her raising. But from your living in the man's house, and he's doing all the running around, being there present, and you are not reinforcing the fact that he has been present. Is
There you go.
Yes.
Reinforcing.
Yes.
That is so important.
I think one of the things, especially about the book, which is about reality as well, the fact that her father was absent, her own father, but he did love her. So that's one of the things.
Yeah.
That's one of the dynamics. Her father loved her. So she grew up with that. But because he was no longer there and there was a stepdad, she was expecting that stepdad to fall into that role.
Because you go to your default.
Yes.
So if your default was experiencing love or knowing of love, your expectation is that you're going to experience love.
Exactly.
And know love. But then when it's a different or more visceral response or a difficult response, that cognitive dissonance, that's what they call it, where you just feel like, wait, the expectation and the reality haven't met. Something's wrong with me, something's wrong with the situation, everything is bad, and then we throw it all out.
Exactly. And that's exactly.
I think as well, part of it is not having that discourse, that conversation.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Because part of it, I feel, is about expectation. We as a man, of course, if you're putting in 100, you're expecting at least 50 to 100 back. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And when you're not having those conversations with your partner, first of all, do you understand, to say, well, look, this child is getting to an age where they're graduating, for example. How is that going to look like? Are you intending that the father comes, or are we both going? Do you understand what I'm saying? Because I think sometimes those missing conversations then create the hurt and the anger also, because you're thinking one thing and they're thinking something else. So there has to be, I think, this meeting of minds where you have those tough conversations.
I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but sometimes we can't have those come together, those minds, because there's a lot of dysregulation going on in the family, especially where mom has her own depressive nature. She doesn't. She actually fears the man. She's even scared of him, so she can't stand up for her daughter. So the daughter is missing out on both ways. That, Mom, you can't even stand up for me. That's where we've had situations whereby even with sexual advances, that happens in the home as well. Let's be real here. These are the things that happen. And so the role of stepdads, but we've also got the positive. And that's so I heard there's some quotes here that I had, somebody said, I was raised by my stepdad. He never called me his stepdaughter. I was just his daughter. That meant everything to me.
There you go.
And then somebody else said, he's a father of two, said, being a dad is it's not about being perfect. It's about being present, like we've always said. But it's about this thing about, so if regardless of, like you said before, there might be issues that I'm not going to go down there because I don't know but if you want to just do it anyhow because that's who you are. I think that's,
So actually, I can maybe add another dynamic to this, which is as a mentor who works with young people, a lot of my cohort, I call them my team, my young people are aged between, let's say now, 18 and 23. So, kind of gone up, but 18 to 23. And in the whole process of how I deal with them, I've always said to them, whether they have present fathers or absent fathers, I always tell them, I say, the reason why I work with you is to me, you're not a charity case. And it's about placing identity. I think it's very important that young people feel a sense of identity from the adults around them. So I say to my young people, where the rooms I can enter, if I can bring you, I'm bringing you in. So I'm going to need you to be operating at a high level so that when we both walk in, we're both respected. And vice versa. You might be able to enter into a room I can't enter into. But when you get there, you know what to speak and you know how to share. And it's happened in my situation whereby there are rooms that my young people can go into that I might not have an invite because they don't know my name. But because my young person knows to bring me up, they say, oh, is he a mentor? Bring him in. And then I now get an invite because my young person has brought it up. The same way, when I walk into rooms, I speak about them because I see them at the same level as who I am. To me, that is a little bit about how fathering, I think, is supposed to work.
Fathering and the fact that you are confident in your role, regardless of the situation that might be going on around. So the idea is about you want to build trust and love in that child, regardless of whether that child carries your name or not. But it's about the influence, and because whether you believe it or not, whether she says it or he says it or not, they will carry your influence for life.
Absolutely.
It will come through.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely that's true. Like what Sims they talk about, takes the godly character.
Yes.
For somebody to take that responsibility and also shoulder it and take it all through, regardless of whatever happened in the future. I'm being remembered, I'm being mentioned, I'm being recognized. That is not out of people. So I've seen situations whereby you won't even know that this is a step, right, in the family. That everything they do, they sew clothes for them, the same quality, they do things together. So now, you raise a very good, important point, because I see that the woman is actually the bridge. Because she knows the other man, she knows the stepdad, which is her husband now, she knows the child. So you see, it's a triangle. So she needs to do the connection. But usually when we do this conversation, she seems out of the equation. Nobody talk about her. But actually, because she knows the personality of all these three. So she's in the middle. Then, and you said that, okay, there may be some tough things going on, but she needs to correct the narrative. She needs, and sometimes this stepdad will look at the child through the mother. That if you, maybe the mother does not even respect the opinion of the child. So the little way is some instances that you need to defend and correct, but you expose. And so that child becomes so intimidated. But when now a stepdad of godly character, because you embrace other children that you are not even connected, just one thing you say, you have some mentees. So you are not, but sometimes they can even relate to you on what they are passing through because they have confidence there is a relationship between them. And so, and you have to give them that listening, and you know, oh, I'm talking to your father, when they're going to look for ring him. But when you now know that you are investing in this child, not that you will take care of me, but so that you become a better person in the society, and even you help yourself, and then we build a very good future, then you now step into that role. But when you are looking at the end result, will I be remembered? Will I be recognized?
So now step aside.
You see, because the uncertainty becomes complex, because you cannot predict what will come. So now, what narrative are you listening to? Because there is both sides of the coin. There are people that have a wonderful stepdad and good, and there's those that. So, but the narrative is that in respect of whatever will come forth, take that responsibility, because I know no matter what happens, even if you are sidelined today, there will be a time that you'll be recognized.
Thank you. That is hope. That is hope. Yeah.
And I would like to add to this idea. We spoke about some statistics at some point earlier, and one of the things that I realized is the issue sometimes is, yes, we can try to pin the challenges on the relationships that are happening. We pin the challenges on the schools the kids are going to. We blame the teachers. But really what should be happening is for all these platforms, whether it's in the platform of relationship, whether it's a platform of parenting, whether it's a platform of teaching, whether it's the platforms of mentoring, consulting, there should be one conversation that's happening, which is the empowerment of young people. You know, because when you, for me, I haven't become a mentor because I had all the resources that I had. I became a mentor almost by happenstance. I'd say God had his hand in it the whole time, because I would step into a classroom and I'm doing a cover lesson. So it's not even like it's my specialty that I know this subject. But what I would use, I'd use every cover lesson that I had as a point of mentoring. So I'd have a class of 30 and I'd say, okay, who here has a hobby? And then someone will go, yeah, I like to play games. Now instead of me going, so what, all you're doing is just playing PlayStation. That's why you can't read. That's not my response. I'll go, okay, have you ever considered streaming? And a lot of the times I'd say a guess, it's a guess, but the kid will be like, yeah, no, sir, I actually have a YouTube channel. It's, okay, tell me a bit more about that. Yeah, no, I have a few subscribers. Blah. Now we're having a career conversation in front of the entire classroom. Now, bear in mind, a lot of the kids in that class did not know that the young person had something that they were working on. Then another one goes, oh, I sir, I just like doing hair. Okay, so do you have customers? No. Okay, so how would you get customers? Now we're having another conversation. I can promise you this. Every time we would have cover work, and I was talking like this, it was like other kids were listening to a podcast. By the end of the lesson, oh yes, sir, I finished the work that you said. I finished the work. For some reason, the temperature of the room goes down because I'm not shouting at anyone. We're having these really amazing soundboarding conversations. Other kids are going, do you know, I never thought about that. And they'll come up to me again, Mr. Vito, thank you for the lesson. I'm going, I didn't teach you anything about your subject. Yes, sir, but I finished the work because when you were talking, I was just listening, and it was making me, as the kids would say, make me deep my life and just think, I've been trying to fix up for so long, but it's like my mom's been telling me, my dad's been telling me, but when I was just listening to you, I realized. So I'm usually completing a process that's already been happening.
So actually, and I think it's powerful, this segment about stepdads, because it's like stepping in. Because I really like that. I've never really thought so. In that situation, you stepped in. And I think most of us in the work we do, we are stepping in. We are stepping in. And I think that is powerful. And I think it's something that we could explore because it's been an overlooked topic for such a long time. We're going to wrap up now. So I just want us to end. So what are we doing? Are we stepping in, stepping up, or stepping aside?
That's good.
Do you know what? I think for me, if it's something that, I got to be honest with you, if it's interfering with my family time, because before I step into any other situation to try and be a mentor or be a good role model, I've realized over time, remember when I was saying I was reconstructing at that point, my reconstruction has been that there are places where I've needed to be a hero and there are places where I need to be a dad. And sometimes those things are interchangeable.
And you can't, it's unconscious. You just do it.
So you do it, but I realized that I was spending a lot more time being a hero than being the dad I wanted to be. So I envisioned to be a certain type of dad. But then my hero lifestyle will call me to solve problems outside of my house. Meanwhile, sometimes problems can start inside your house because you're not able to provide your presence the way that you normally would.
That is so.
So for me, it's been a restructuring of that process and going, young people, I can be a hero to you, but I gotta be more of a hero to my kids first, so that my kids have the right example. I said, but as I work with my young team, the team that I work with, I've told them, I said, all of you guys are gonna be uncles to my kids, So I'm like, you better fix up. Because if you don't fix up, my kids don't have good role models.
But that is still part of, so the way that conversation is stepping.
Yes.
What do?
So I am stepping in and stepping out at the same time.
As much as possible, try to step in, but time is also very important. And also, some of the narrative you give help those people to know that this is not just head knowledge,
of course,
and which is very important. And the little time, and when you show them that you value your time, it makes sure that when they come, they go straight to the point. But when they think, you have a lot of time in the world that they keep on wumbling about, but also that is part of what you teach them for them to learn. Time is very precious, and there's time that a lot of things are competing for your time. So we try to step in because sometimes they don't have clarity, and because you're empowering them, you're giving them some direction, they feel confident to open up to you. And when a child gets solution or pathway from you, you give a kind of guidance, he will come tomorrow. But when you don't give him that access, you have shut the door, they won't come again. And they will pass that instruction or that communication to others, and people begin to avoid it. So as much as possible, it's good for us, even our tight schedule, let's try to step in so that we have a better society.
Absolutely. Well, I'll say I'm stepping in, but I'm minding the gap.
Wow, love it. I love it.
You got to stepping in with your eyes wide open,
Yes.
because your first priority is to where yours are.
Yeah.
Because you can't be making a difference outside at the expense of your inside.
Definitely.
Fantastic. Final thoughts?
Yeah, my
You're just learning, innit?
Yeah, I've always been learning since we've done this podcast. I've learnt a lot, but and I would say that being a step parent is not about fixing a situation. It's being present.
Yes.
In that space. And when you're being present, you're not thinking of self. You are thinking of your child or their child. And I think it's important that you do.
I love that. And that's what I want to end on right now. It's about you being confident, whether you're a stepdad, you're an uncle, whatever role you're stepping in, but thinking about that child and being confident that regardless, you're doing what you need to do, not because it's about you, it's about the child. And I love what we said before. The children need us regardless of what kind of role we're playing, whether it's dad, uncle, brother, whatever, mentor, teacher. We need to step in. But I like what we've all said, stepping in and minding the gap, stepping in but minding our space, stepping in and yet looking at and not just playing the hero to others, but also being for ourselves as well. So yes, it's important to be a step parent, but how do you play that step parenting role? Thank you for watching. Stepdads out there, we just want to celebrate you. Well done.
Celebrate you, man.
Keep going.
Yes, sir.
God bless you.